I think there is not a single day without receiving an email or message or comment in YouTube or whatever of someone saying, I don't know what picture to make anymore. How do you get motivated? Or when I go to a place, after 5 minutes, I've seen everything that is possible. I don't know how to get more picture or more ideas. So I was recording a video here. I said, well, let's play with that. I'm not going to move from here and see the kind of picture we can make with a standard, well, this is a OM system, OM1. It's not a standard camera, I would say, but still the standard lens is 12 to 40 millimeter, which is equivalent of 24 to 80 millimeter in full frame, or like the typical 18 to 55 millimeter you get with an APS-C kit lens. Okay, so let's see what we could play without any extra filter, no tripod, nothing, just playing where I am. Okay, so let's start. The first thing you need to do when you get somewhere is to do a 360 degrees checking, see what's there, what could be interesting to make picture of, but not just around like this. In my case, it's more difficult because I said I would not go away from the camera. Maybe I will have to put it lower if I make picture on the floor, okay? But I will not go away, so I'm limited to this maximum zoom focal length, okay? So if you are going around yourself, maybe you will pick something a bit further and walk a few meters or maybe more. In my case, I will not move from there, okay, from here, okay? So once you've made this 360 degrees look around, you must look in depth also, because maybe you see a bunch of flowers, but you don't see the center of the flower. It doesn't mean you need to make macro photography, but you could do proxy or get closer to things, or maybe you see a street, and on this street, it's not just a street, there is also bricks with the houses, or maybe a keyhole or whatever, that are really interesting. In this case, it's all very similar, but we're going to see what we could do with that. So let's carry on. Obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is to make a first picture of the place, okay? So if I'm on the street, well, the street, I'm here, so obviously I'm going to make a seascape, okay? Wide angle, and I will wait for a wave to break to give some volume, okay, to give some life. I take care with the composition. In my case, I prefer to place the horizon on the third part, superior third part, okay? And then I wait for a wave to break, so it gives some life to the seascape, okay? Let's wait. It's coming right now. Let's wait, here it is. 1 second, okay. The wave sometimes takes time, but it's coming. And I'm on 12 millimeter, which is equivalent to 24. It gives some strength to the picture, so it's coming, okay, okay. Okay, this is my first picture. Obviously from there you can play with a close-up on the rocks, for example here. I would like to have it waiting for the wave to break just on the rocks, okay, here it goes, okay, here it is, okay. And several pictures like this. Maybe after you can edit in square, whatever, or vertical, horizontal, all this. But my first picture is made. From there, you can make a series of pictures. Now, before going to closer things, maybe texture or whatever, I could still make a close-up on some parts of the landscape, like the rocks or whatever. But I could also play with the clouds. Right now, there are brilliant clouds because it's noon, so at 12 o'clock, midday, or around 12 o'clock, midday, okay, sun is at the vertical, so the lower part of clouds is really dark. So it's really nice, you can get nice texture. When you make picture of a cloud, sometimes it's hard to focus, okay? The autofocus will be a bit darting, so maybe you have to need to do manual focus. I didn't have any problem, but you test it, okay? Don't overexpose, so you do get really dark part of the cloud, okay? So let's make a picture there, okay? So after, when you process your raw file, you can force a contrast, darken the darkest part of the cloud, and that gives really a really special look, okay? And before going to closer things like texture, this, I see that the cloud have a really strong character, so I could mix both vertical picture to get 2/3 of sky 1/3 of sea and maybe part of the landscape, but I already know I want to process it in black and white because these clouds are really going to get dramatic if I force contrast. So let's make the picture, okay? I put 2/3 of cloud, 2/3 of sky, okay? So I make it there. I get big chunk of the seaside, okay, of the land, sorry. Now I'm getting a bit different, this one. Let's see what I prefer, okay? But I want to have really a lot of character in my clouds, okay? So it's really important to frame. I'll wait for the sea to go down just a bit, and that's it, okay? So I haven't seen the picture yet, but I know I'm going to process it, and I know it will have a lot of character, okay? So after you've played with general picture or clouds or whatever, there are clouds everywhere, well, not always, but sky, and maybe if you're in the subway, maybe not, but you can play with that. And now I'm going to play with texture. But before getting into the texture level, I'm going to pick a big stone here, a pebble here. It's massive, okay? I'm going to make a general picture of it, and I'll leave a bit around. It's a bit dirty here, so I don't want to show all the dirt around, but still, I'm going to be on 2.8 to maybe have it a bit more of sharpness on it and not on the rest, but you won't see much difference anyway because it's on the floor again. But I'll show you, and it's presenting the actress here, because now we're going to give some protagonism to this stone, okay? So let's make a first picture here. So I've presented our protagonist right now, so we're going to work with it. Now I'm about 1.5 meters from the iPhone that is recording me. I get close to this stone, so you could do proxy. It all depends on your camera, how close you can focus. In this case, down to 20 centimeters. It's not always possible, but you do as much as you can. And you're going to search for texture in that stone, okay? So there are many small holes like this. So let's say I see this one. I'm going to make picture here. Okay. Sometimes you look for patterns or something that looks funny to you or whatever. And in this case, you can also play with depth of field. Now let's say here, I'm going to put a really short depth of field. When you like this, if your screen can be orientated, that does help, okay? So let's make focusing on this small hole here with a shallow depth of field, and you can play with that as much as you can, okay? So it all depends what your camera lets you do as shallow depth of field, but you can really have fun, okay? So once you've done that, you look for texture, for patterns or whatever, but you can really have fun, and not just stone. It could be like on the street, a brick on a wall, or could be a door with a wooden part, and you look at the patterns in the wood or whatever. But here you can get really close and really play with that, okay? So now what you can do is mix both. Have your protagonist or your subject standing out, but include the background in a way that is blurred, but not too much. We can still guess what it is, but not too sharp, otherwise it's take away the attention of the subject. But still, it's important to see the context, okay? So you will have to play with the distance, the aperture, all this to make sure what you see is standing out, but you can still guess a bit what's in the back. So we're going to pick a stone or something like this, and we still see something, okay? So it's just another game. We could could be here for hours searching for small things or big things, okay? To play with the depth of field with this, don't forget there are several things that affect the depth of field. First, the sensor size, but you cannot change it. This is your camera. You have one sensor, you're not going to open it and change it, so forget it. Okay. Second, the closest you are to your subject, the more shallow depth of field you get. I mean, the least sharpness you get. Okay. Straight away, you get a shallow depth of field. Second, and the furthest, well, the more depth of field you get, the more sharpened area you get. Okay. Second, it's not, the order is not what's best, what's worst. It's just what I said, not to forget. So first, distance. Second, the focal length. The longer your lens, the shorter the depth of field. At the same distance, if you have a 20 millimeter, you have more depth of field than if you have a 200 millimeter, okay? At the same distance, okay? Then you have the aperture. The widest you open your aperture, the shallower depth of field. Always comparing the rest at the same distance, same condition, okay? So if you had less shallow depth of field at f8 than at 2.8, okay? And last, the background. The further your background, the more out of focus it will appear than if it's really close to your subject, okay? So you have this to play with, okay? So we're going to see what to do. To include these rocks with a landscape, I'm going to play with depth of field. I'm going to play with everything, okay? So I'm going to start first with a wide angle at 2.8. I do see the background, okay? I think, yeah, I can guess this is the sea. Okay. But maybe not that much. So now I'm going to close to f4. Don't forget that if you close, you have to drop the speed, okay? From 2.8 I went to f4, so now I'm going from 1600 to 800. I made the same picture. And maybe now it's a bit more obvious that it is the sea, okay? I was on wide angle. Now let's try with telelens. 2.8 again. And see what I get. Oh, sorry. As you can see, this time it's a lot harder to see what's in the background, okay? So there is no better or worse picture. It depends on your taste. You prefer this way, shallow depth of field, or everything in focus. You decide. There's nothing wrong or right. It's just your taste, okay? But you see, you can really play with this, integrating a subject into the background and decide how much of the background you want to show, okay? So it's just fine-tuning, testing, but it takes time to have fun, and the more you know your camera, the better you will get the result you want, okay? So we could spend hours here. It is unlimited. So what I would like you to see that it's an attitude. When you go out to like go fishing, but you go for photography, think that there are many things you could get back every time. New pictures, but some thematic, maybe repeated, like a keyhole, a door, a small stone, or whatever. On top of the rest that you actually find, looking around, watching, analyzing, seeing what you could make, okay? But I think it's always possible to come back with different picture. And then what's important is that once you've made your pictures, go home, pick the best picture you think you have made, and the big problem with EXIF, which is the information you get with the file, it doesn't indicate the situation. You will know exactly the aperture, the speed, all this, but you will not know how far you were from object or subject or whatever, okay? Or the weather it was, or the time of the day. By the time of the day, you could get it with the EXIF, okay? But get a small notebook and write down for your best picture that was at such distance from the subject. Things like this. It means that bit by bit you will know your gear better, you will know your possibility better, you will know how to make things better and repeat them if needed. You will know better yourself, better your taste, what you like, and also how to get the result you want. So it's important that you really not just make picture, but learn from them, okay? And write down what you've learned, write down the situation, write down all this, okay? So now that you have no excuse to come back from walking around with your camera and say, I don't know what picture to make. There are always things you can make, and they can be different every time you go out, okay? So thank you very much for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Small button down here, a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. Also leave you links of my gear on Amazon, links to everything, everything I've reviewed by K&F Concept and Sandmark, and also a link to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.